Hello! Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I can't believe we've never met before.
It's illegal. It's outrageous. We're breaking
I agree. I feel like when you are playing Evan Hansen, which we both do, I am Off-Broadway and you of course in the West End. I feel like there's like some kind of like text chain that should be created that all of a sudden
there's got to
everyone
be a
is
group
just.
chat. There's got.
I feel like there was at one point, and then I think people were like, this can't do. We must get rid of it.
There's too many now.
We'll bring it back. We will bring it back. So this is such a cool opportunity. We have been brought together by What's on Stage in London and Theatre Mania in New York to kind of talk about what it means and what it feels like to play the role of Evan Hansen in our respective counterparts in the world.
So interesting to talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And as soon as this was brought to me, I was like, I have so many questions. That I don't think about the questions, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I have a million questions that I want to ask
and then
you.
that made me like question my Evan, and I was like, oh my god, do I even know? And now I'm like, oh wow.
Stop. No, you're incredible. Didn't you win like some small like tiny award? Like it's just like it's really small. It's like I don't know, it's like it's not important at all. Congratulations on that, by the way. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in, and I just want to say that I love how this is like the Zoom that we're on, like how it's listed. It's like West End versus Broadway. I feel like
there's a winner.
I thought that I think really what it means is that we're just gonna have to like sing "Waving Through a Window" like to the death. Like we'll just like keep going.
Like, as soon as we finish it, like next key up.
Right. That I would be done. I would be done after just like one. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question, and we'll go from there. So I was a part of the original Toronto production, and I was so fascinated as an American being up there that they actually changed some of the script to kind of like be more reflective of the audience that it was playing to. So have there been any changes to the Dear Evan Hansen script for the London production?
Yes, there have been. There were a few changes. I think to remember them now is impossible, but like we didn't have like Trader Joe's dumplings. Like there's a line that Heidi Hansen says at the beginning of the show. I think it's just after waving, I think. And we just scrapped it. We didn't even replace it with any because it was like, I think like we don't really need to know what they are. So yeah, there were a few actually, and there was a few lines that Zoe says, Lucy Anderson, who plays Zoe. We were just like, this is not gonna land. Like we barely got away with Pottery Barn, whatever that is. Like,
oh my god, I just caught a glimpse of the American dialect. Incredible. Pottery Barn. Wow.
Can't say it in a British accent. It sounds outrageous, but yeah, so like we kept a few things, but yeah. So things were changed quite dramatically, I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm very sorry that you have never tried a Trader Joe's dumpling. They are in fact incredible.
I know, honestly.
But I think that makes sense.
So that's a really good question. Mine aren't as profound as that. I think my first one would be for you is, what do you reckon as Evan as a character his biggest fear would be? Not necessarily talking about the shows, the fear that the show brings, but just like in general, not like a phobia, but like I don't know.
No, I mean, I think that's a great question. I feel like his biggest fear is being on the outside, always looking in, not being able to connect with everyone. And I don't know about you, but I had middle school for me. Is there middle school in London? No, it's different,
we
right?
have like a secondary school kind of, GCSE vibe. People will know.
You learn something new every single day with the show. But I can totally relate to that, and I feel like that feels really right. Everyone is so familiar with Waving Through a Window. It's like the power anthem of like the century by Pascal and Paul. But in it really shows that Evan, what he wants the most is to connect with people and to finally have someone wave back at him. And I think by proxy, like his biggest fear is that he won't have someone kind of to connect with, to kind of be with, you know?
Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me?
Okay, so next question for you. This, I'm curious because I feel like when I first joined the fold of Evan Hansen, I was like, what? This role is insane. And like, how do people do this? How do people do it once a week, twice a week, 6 times? How do people do it? It's so incredible. It's so insane. It's such a mammoth of a role. What are the things that you do off stage in those, whether it's the 3 minutes of Requiem or it's the 20 seconds we have before the Orchard quick change?
It's so interesting. I think for me, I think there was this one time a couple of weeks ago, I was doing the show and I was like, you know what, I really don't need to pee right now. I'm good. I'm all good. And then I did Words Fail, needing to pee, and it was possibly the worst experience I've ever done. And I nearly embarrassed myself in front of an entire audience. What? Just literally, oh my God.
Or the stakes were really just so high that the audience was like, wow, Sam is really going through it tonight. He is just really going that extra mile. He really is. It looks like he's gonna burst.
Yeah, literally. So for me, because literally, the only reason I'm alive is because of just so much water, as you know. So I think, during the show, yeah, exactly. In Requiem, I pop a mint just because to give my throat some sort of stimulus other than just swallowing like all the trash in there. And I'll go for a wee and then I'll just kind of just chill and I'll make fun of Rupert Young, who plays Larry, singing the high notes, and I'll tease him a bit. And then I'll do a few tongue stretches just to kind of try and reset as much as I can before the rest of the chaos begins. But the rest of it in Act 2 is just literally just a quick change, water, try and fit a wee in if you can. If you can't, good luck. That's it.
I feel like I've had a very similar experience of being like, yeah, peeing, like it's fine, I can just wait afterwards. And I guzzle similar to you, just like fluids. I wake up in the morning and I drink like what feels like a liter of water, and then I do that before bed and throughout the show because it's so important. So I've definitely been in that position too, where I'm like, oh wow, it is the first act and it's for forever, and I have 2 more scenes and songs before I can pee. And should we just like speed it up? We're just gonna be like, blah, 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 like just like even faster. Yeah. I recently discovered that waving through a window when it was first written, it was actually like up a couple steps. Like it actually was higher. And I was like, interesting. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just like I'm gonna run.
No, man. Oh my gosh, yeah, crazy. Oh my goodness. I've got speaking of songs and what have you, in the entire score of the show, what would you reckon your favorite melody or favorite line or favorite rhythm or anything like that is? For example, mine is, and it's so silly, it's actually not, it's he left it in the bag but the tag's still on. I just really like how that's like, I really like that, and it's not difficult, it's not overcome, it's just simple line but with a lot of weight. It's just, anyway.
Pulling it to break in a glove. That is not what I was expecting.
Thank you.
Not what I was expecting. Love that song, but not what I was expecting. That's a great question. I feel like it changes, my favorite song, whatever that means for the show, that is like so, timeless in so many of the songs that it has. I think performing, I think my favorite song to do is For Forever, just because I feel like that's where we get to really kind of see who Evan actually is. And see his heart and his vulnerability, and I think that the melody is just so gorgeous. But rhythm-wise, because there are so many funky rhythms, I don't know. Every single time I'm on stage for Good For You, and I watch Jared go like, "And you say what you need to say," that stuff. I always am like, I resist the urge to kind of like, to just like to like jam out. I'm like, oh right, I'm really upset. Yeah. I'm really angsty and scared right now. But I'm like, yeah, go on, come on, you got it. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, come on, like go on, come on, Alana, let's go. Yeah, no, I'm fired. But I find that song to be really invigorating, even though for our character it's technically at the detriment of us. Yeah. But I find that song to be super just like enlivening, especially at that part of the show and in that act.
All we see is light, 'cause the sun burns bright. We could be alright for forever in this life.
All right.
Whoa.
So I've got a question for you that
Please.
is a little bit more serious. So, our shows have had incredible runs on Broadway and on the West End. I'm so proud of our productions for everything that they've done, the partnerships that they've made. It's really just such a singular show, and I'm sure, like you, like for me, I feel so honored to just be a part of its history. So what do you hope people take away from the legacy of Dear Evan Hansen once it closes in our respective multiverses?
The multiverse of Evan Hansen. I think, obviously You'll Be Found is such, in the context of the show, it's quite haunting. It's quite, there's such a darker undertone to it, but the message is just so true and just so, I think it's so simple, and it just, all it takes is just something so brilliantly written like Dear Evan Hansen, just have such a very simple and very genuine and truthful message that no one deserves to be forgotten, or you will be found, or all these things. And I think when Stage Door was a bigger thing, I think I had so many people that would come up to me and they would say, here's a tattoo of a line, because that line is saved my life. People would come up to me and they it would be like a really grizzled as a guy, this dad who's like clearly not into musical theatre or into acting or anything like that. And he says to me, that he really resonates with Larry Murphy, or he really saw his partner in so and so, and it just really to see such truthful, real, non-perfect, if that's like they are flawed, and that's why they are so powerful, is because they're human. And I think the legacy that the people who watch the show can identify with these six characters on stage. I think it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And it's like, I'm part of a production where we pulled people, and that's the most humbling and life altering, perspective changing thing ever. And I think the legacy that it takes is that you will be found, and I think it's just so beautifully simple and just so powerful as well. It carries so much weight. Did I say words? I do.
You did. I think that I mean, for me, that's exactly how I feel too. I think that it is that sense of hope that people leave with the show, and it obviously leaves a handprint in their heart and their brain, kind of this story and the message that it leaves. And I think it's the ability for this show to kind of start these conversations about mental health and those things that are so hard is why there's so many reasons why the show is incredible, but that specifically I think kind of a legacy is so profound and important, and will be something that is remembered for forever.
If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be
found. This is such a, I did it in a weird order. This is my least profound. Oh God,
I love it. That's great, because it contrasts the one that I asked you, like a really hard question. So this is perfect. This is exactly what we want.
What do you reckon? Oh my God, what do you reckon Evan's favorite film is?
His favorite film?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is.
Because it's for me, things like that just like really fill in. Not that there are many gaps to his personality that has been written. We've got so much, stuff to work with. But I love stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean?
That is an incredible question. Let's see here. I feel like he might be like a film buff. He might be because he's like generally alone a lot of the time and likes that.
Yeah,
I feel like he's a
exactly.
fan. I feel like he's a fan of the classics. Like I feel
Yeah.
like he's definitely got that going for him. He might be like a Star Wars person, maybe by virtue of his friendship with Jared, that he's like, Jared likes this, so I also like this. But
Astounding.
that's a great question. I feel like, I don't know, what would you say? What do you think?
Well, the thing, I was going for that kind of sci-fi
Yep.
vibe, like, you know, like Back to the Future, things like, you know, like old and, you know, the classics, but
Yeah.
like that are still so current. And, you know, I think stuff like that, like really sci-fi, Star Wars stuff, Trek, stuff like that. Like,
Well,
really,
great minds
you
think
know,
alike, but I
great
feel like
minds.
it's definitely because he has a lot of those Friday, Saturdays alone, as we learn at the very top of what does Heidi say?
King.
There you go. Like, what does Heidi say? She's like, I don't want another night of you sitting at home on a computer every night telling me you have no friends. So I feel like he's got his like classic kind of lineup of shows that he's like,
He's got a
okay,
rhythm.
tonight it's me and this, and like I want to say it's Harry Potter, but like I don't know if that's it. Maybe he feels really akin to like Neville Longbottom or like Harry, who knows? But like, oh god.
I've got a show tonight. I'm going to be thinking about that the whole time.
But like also me, that's just me because I am also very much a Harry Potter freak, so that could just be me bleeding into that.
I love Back to
but
the
that's
Future, so that's my favorite film as well. So yeah.
that is a great movie. Marty McFly, dear Lord. That was a great question. I feel like no one's
just
ever
jokes.
asked me that before.
Yeah.
Another stellar conversation for the scrapbook.
Goodness me, this has been fantastic. I cannot believe we haven't met in person. This is
I know.
This is a crime. This is a crime.
I'm
I think I saw you-
sure our paths will cross again. Maybe I'll be in
Done.
London. Maybe you'll
Done.
probably be here at some point. We will
Done.
get together. We will ask
will.
more questions.
More questions.
We will send
Favorite
it to
book?
What's on
Done.
Stage and Theater Mania, and
Theater
they
Mania.
will not. They'll be like, it's enough, but we will still do it, and we will talk about it because I'm
We'll have
actually
a
genuinely
file, we'll have a whole
exactly.
glossary.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. Please, everyone who's watching, while we're open, book your tickets. It's such a beautiful show. Zachary, I know you are just, from this, I just know that you're such a wonderful, brilliant, truthful actor, and I know you give your all every night. And I just would love to have the pleasure of seeing you. My goodness me.
Right back at you.
Thank you so much. This has been Zachary, Noah Piser, and Sam Tutty.
Two friends, true friends.